Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rate as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle, the ASIS strike.
You have done your work and put us to the wall. We are not the slaves.
I'm not a small boy. You should have given me the report. I have not seen the report.
Good morning and welcome to the program. It's a Global Morning on Global Television, and it's time for Africa's finest breakfast show to get into your lives and make your day truly amazing. Today is the 28th day of March, 2024, and I'm not alone. I've got Jumai Mountain waiting in the wings to ensure that your day is truly beautiful. Good morning.
Good morning, Anthony Momodou, and good morning to each and every one of you out there. It's great to be here on Global Morning. It seems like a long time, like
yeah, like you've been out for a month.
Yeah, of course. Not a month, just from the weekend till now, but all the same, it's great to be here. Hope you've been having an amazing time, of course, on Global Morning today, Thursday, like Anthony said, the 28th of March. The month is like, it's fast. Is it me?
Yeah, it's faster, but this is what we want, especially if you work somewhere and you know that every end of the month it's payday. You want the month to run, even roll fast into the next. But it's good. It's paydays close by, and
yes.
But we hope we've made your March really a very eventful month, and today we intend to make it even more beautiful by giving you all the beautiful things the world has in store just for you.
Yes, we have, and I hope, of course, you know, in this month we celebrated women, and this month also it was World Happiness Day, so it's not just a day thing, so it's an everyday event.
Yeah,
and about that.
And while you were away, we were celebrating a World Against Racism and people struggling with racial discrimination.
Oh,
so
wow.
This month of March is filled with, no wonder it's called a March month.
Marching forward.
Yeah, marching forward. So many things to talk about, and the United Nations deemed it fit that the month of March had very strategic things for us to celebrate. All right, we'll be looking at very interesting things playing out in Nigeria, but not so sweet, sad to say. Sweet and bitter in between. It depends on which divide you're in, and it depends also which report you've heard, then you can now take a side to this story. We're looking at the 17 slain military personnel, as the presidency also did announce welfare. According to the story, they've all have been awarded posthumous national honors. The 4 gallant officers have been accorded the award of Member of the Order of the Niger. The 13 courageous soldiers who also lost their lives have been awarded the Officer of the Federal Republic Medal. This is President Bola Tinubu gave this award during the funeral of these gallant soldiers. But the story surrounding the death of these soldiers is still depending on which divide you get the story. Yesterday we had a guest who is from the Niger Delta who got story. He was on the Big Talk yesterday. He relayed how the soldiers actually had always oppressed this community, and so when they came calling this time, just like the adage that says, when you keep shouting wolf, the day the wolf truly comes, you will not know. So they kept, so they felt the same thing was about to happen to them, and they responded the way they did.
Oh, wow.
So that's another side of the story we had yesterday. So, but all the same, it's very sad when you lose loved ones, especially when I saw the kids yesterday. I saw the son yesterday.
The wives also.
I felt, the wives, and I felt really bad. Then when you hear the other side of the story, you're like, okay, what's happening here? Like, How about...
You know, we've gotten different pointers to this report. We've heard that some people say it's because of the oil well in which they were trying to preserve for their own benefit, and because what would take a lieutenant colonel, a major and captain to go in when he could as well, he would have
especially
said,
when they knew the community were at loggerheads, they wouldn't have walked in without even maximum protection,
exactly.
So to say. So there was something fishy we're not getting completely.
And then someone from the Niger Delta said it's a terrain in which they're acquainted with, so they know who to talk with and then who to speak when it comes to negotiations, when it comes to... So a lot of stories surrounding this particular issue, and now we're hearing what you said, that they're fond of intimidating
the same community. And so when they saw them coming again, they thought it was the same action they were coming to, you know, so probably attacked them when they were not even coming to attack them. So
it's really sad. So it's an unfortunate incident. But kudos to what our president did, the award that was given, and of course welfare packages that will be given to the families, which is not enough to bring back the dead.
Yeah, but we hope it gets to them completely, because that's another issue. Getting to them completely is very key. And
yes, true.
But I just feel bad that they have to honor them when they're dead. Why don't, at times I feel like the government is slow. Like, these people give their all while they're alive. Why don't you see it in that light? It's only when they die you think they've done enough.
Exactly.
It's unfair.
It's a very sad experience, because I've known people, individuals, in the military who have been in the war front, who have fought insurgency and all of that. And the stories you get are not palatable when it comes to weaponry that they do not have. If we take it back to
the
Buratai era. It was saddened to the ear that these gallant individuals just lost their lives due to carelessness, due to greed. Many of them lost their life due to the greed of insurgency when it comes to the monies in which they get behind closed doors, and the betrayal of some military men who actually come to betray their coursemates or the soldiers
in the front line.
In the front line. So it's an unfortunate incident that if the government doesn't take care of these individuals, and the other side, which is the insurgent, portrays this welfare package of so much money to better their lives and their families, of course they're going to shove. It says when push comes to shove, yeah? So that is the point. The military men need to be taken care of when they are alive. The families need to feel the impact. Do you know what it is for a woman married to a man who has signed that he will protect the lives of property of individuals in our society? It means that she's giving her husband, it's like a sacrificial thing. True. It takes a woman who is strong to understand that her husband might never come back. That would be the last time you say bye-bye to that person. So you are on your knees, if you're a Christian, on your knees, if you're a Muslim, on your praying mat every single day, not knowing the fact that every single hour, knowing that the man in which you love, you fell in love with, you married, might never come home to your arms, or never come home to see the children. So it's a very sad incident when they're not well taken care of. It's a very sad incident when you hear rumors of when they were in the war front, how they suffered, how all of these things, and yet they want to protect lives and properties. Well, I hope the welfare of our military men, which so far will have weight, so that they will not cause issues, this sort of issues, this hearsay that we're hearing when it comes to the issue that played out with the 17 slain officers and soldiers. Yes.
All right, our heart goes out to the entire family, and I hope someday the president would have the guts to go to the front line and to just have a feel of what the soldiers go through, and probably that will make him have a rethink how they appreciate these soldiers and how much they've done to protect the lives of Nigerians and our territory. I think more needs to be done. I think there has to be, if it was possible, body cams of these soldiers at the war front will do the trick. Because if they have body cams that relates directly to the presidency, they can tell, they can see the armory they have, the weaponry they have, if it's true, if all they've given to the service chiefs and the army, and if it's actually what they give to the soldiers to protect themselves, first of all, before protecting Nigerians, then they can catch them, like we say, local parlance, because the truth is the presidency might not be able to tell which weaponry is given to this man.
Very true.
Especially when they are shortchanged.
And the truth is,
sad.
in the military, there's something called protocol.
Yes, so you cannot jump.
You cannot jump the gun. You must follow the right procedure.
So it makes it easier for them to do things without being...
Some, not all. Some officers have honors. Some soldiers have honors. Some, well, it depends on how the way they want to shift the blame.
All right, I wish we could do a minute silence in honor of the slain soldiers. We truly heart goes out to the children, the wives, the families, the friends, the associates.
Well wishes.
It's very sad commentary, especially if you also, the fact that even the Okroma community is also a sad place to be, deserted, people losing their lives, especially the innocent ones, because those who might have perpetrated that act obviously will not be in that community or around that community.
Definitely.
So the innocent ones will be the ones who bear the brunt. All right, that's a very sad commentary. That's what played out yesterday in Nigeria, and it's what everybody's talking about because it was a very sad commentary, the killing of those persons. And we have the roll call. I don't know if you would want to... okay. All right. Would have done the honors of getting their names rolled out. But in order not to continue the sad commentary, let's move on. And but just to let us know that the slain 17 soldiers were, aside being buried in the military cemetery, the Chief of Staff, Torid Lagbaja, says the officers and soldiers of the Nigerian Army who were gruesomely murdered in Okwama community in Delta State on 14 March left behind 10 widows, 3 of them who are pregnant, and 21 orphans. Lagbaja made this known at the burial of the 17 personnel comprising, very sad, 10 widows, 21 orphans. I hope the Nigerian government would do the needful to ensure that these persons are trained to the university level. Yes. 21 orphans.
In that aspect of the military, they have not failed. They have actually taken care of their own when it comes to children. I would know, believe me. I would know when it comes to fees, when it comes to upkeep and all of that. They do their best when it comes to that aspect. So I'm sure the Chief of Army Staff will not fail in his words, because these are things that happen. Widows, orphans who are trained from primary to secondary to tertiary institution. It might not come as it ought to, but at least it's something to keep the face up, at least something to help, to actually help.
Make the families feel they are not alone.
They're not alone, and it's something that can actually go a long way.
All right, let's move on from that rather sad commentary as we wish the families the very best. Let's talk some little bit of politics. We've got the LP talking about the Labour Party on Tuesday, shifted the convention from Umuahia here in Abia State to Nnewi in Anambra State. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has disowned Wednesday's Labour Party National Convention in Anambra. Rotimi Onyekomi, the Chief Press Secretary to INEC, Chairman Mahmoud Yakubu, said this when he spoke with the News Agency of Nigeria on Thursday. Onyekomi said that the conduct of the convention was not monitored by INEC, declining to state further why it was not monitored. However, reports that the Labour Party had Tuesday shifted the convention from Umuahia to Nnewi in Anambra was what made the rounds. But it just shows
what's going on.
There's trouble everywhere. All the
turbulence,
parties,
serious turbulence. Like, why would you shift base from where you were? It just shows that
they're looking for where it's going to favor them more. I think that's the idea of shifting the base of the election. But the fact that INEC has said they're not aware makes it invalid.
Worrisome.
So I think they've already lost even before they began. So
very true.
It makes it very worrisome that our political parties still have issues with internal democracy. And if you internally you can get it solved, I wonder how you want us to give you the mandate to govern us.
Of doubt, really.
To govern us, because you can't even govern your party. It's
basically. But I hope this turbulence in political parties, because all political parties are not exceptional.
It looks like you've been flying lately. Every time you say turbulence, it reminds me of aircraft So turbulent. You've
Moving
been flying a lot. Okay, I understand you come from Edo State where they say people fly a lot. All right, let's look at taste and texture. What do you have in store for us?
I'm going to ignore you.
No,
for people
fly,
who are wondering, oh
fly.
my God, Anthony Momodu, I refuse to.
Okay, you talk about the other fly.
I talk about the other fly. Like, seriously, Anthony, well, no problem at all. Up next, I'm going to.
That's what we call like 10-0 in the football match.
But definitely, I'm going to.
Okay, in as much as
1-0.
There's a fight going on. But you're looking really pretty this morning. You're looking charming. What happened? She has to tell us where she's been. This person's looking so chubby. I think part of those eating the national cake.
Oh please. Oh please. But 1-0 though. 1-0. No problem. I'm going to give you an upper blow.
Okay, so in case you don't see me later in the show, just know I've been knocked out.
Yeah. All right. Now up next is taste and texture. Yes, it is. So why don't you sit back, pick up a pen and paper, and let's see what taste and texture have in stock for us. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to another mouth-watering episode of Taste and Texture. I'm Fatimi Abu Omar. Today we'll be trying the stuffed plantain boats. Take one. Today we'll be trying the stuffed plantain boats. This recipe will leave you craving for more. Plantain is a tropical fruit enjoyed throughout the African diaspora, and in other traditional cuisines, they are a nutritious staple that can be enjoyed in many culinary applications. This recipe is easy to make. Instead of frying the plantains, I roast them in the oven to cut out some calories. Roasted plantains filled with seasoned roasted eggplant, tomatoes, onions, bell pepper, and spices, topped with cheese for lunch, dinner, or even breakfast. Very comforting. Stuffed plantains are simply plantains roasted and stuffed with whatever filling to one's desire. The fun but healthy thing about this recipe is that it's baked, especially with Fit Farm these days. You can even have this thread for cheat days. Even half or one stuffed plantain goes a long way. You could make this breakfast, lunch, or dinner. The fun thing about this recipe is that the stuffed plantains with anything, vegetables or suya chicken. The ingredients needed are 3 to 4 medium ripe plantains, not too fat, 1 teaspoon oil, salt to taste. For filling, chopped shrimp, 1 light roasted eggplant, garden egg, 3 small plump tomatoes chopped, 1 chopped bell pepper, 1 habanero pepper, atarodo minced, 3 small garlic cloves minced, half a small onion chopped, 1 teaspoon coconut oil, a pinch of thyme, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, bouillon, salt as needed. To garnish, avocado, 1/4 cup of cilantro, parsley or basil scent leaves, a handful of cheese optional. Now let's make it. Peel the plantains and cut into 2 equal parts. Carve a pocket across its length, which will hold the stuffing. Rub some oil on the plantains. Preheat the oven to 375 to 400 degrees. Place a foil wrap onto the baking sheet and cut with 1 teaspoon of oil. Cut the sides. Take one. Cut the ends of the plantain with knife. Then slit the skin of the plantain only as deep as the skin goes and peel. Place the plantain onto the sheet and into the oven. Bake for about 10 to 15 minutes on each side. Once done, sprinkle on a little salt if using and set aside to cool. While plantain is cooking, make the filling. Heat 1 teaspoon of oil, add onion, salt until translucent. Add the garlic and mix until fragrant. Stir the tomatoes, peppers, and stir fry on medium heat. Once it's reduced, add the roasted eggplant and cook until well done. Add the shrimp seasoning and cook until the shrimp has turned pink. Make deep slits into the plantain stuffed with the filling. If using cheese, pour it over stuffed plantain and bake for another 3 to 5 minutes to melt the cheese. Serve with the garnishes. Squeeze a little lemon. That's if you want to and enjoy. To roast the eggplants, wash and cut the eggplants, sprinkle with salt, pepper and a little onion. Roast on 350 degrees for about 35 minutes, depending on the size. And now let's take a quick look at the health benefits of eggplants and plantain. Eggplants, a great source of vitamins and minerals. The vitamins and minerals content in eggplant is quite extensive. They are a great source of vitamin C, vitamin K, vitamin B6, thiamine, niacin, magnesium, manganese, phosphorus, copper, fiber, folic acid, potassium, and more. Increases brain function. Eggplants are rich in natural chemicals called polynutrients, which have been known to improve mental health. This benefit is as a result of increased blood flow throughout the body and into the brain by delivering more blood to the brain. Polynutrients help boost memory by stimulating your neural pathways to develop. And now plantains. Plantains are a good source of antioxidants, including the vitamin C and A. Antioxidants are compounds that help reduce free radical damage and oxidative stress and may lower the risk of many diseases such as cancer. Vitamin A and C are two of the most top nutrients to support your immune system and fight diseases. That's all for now. Bye.
All right, welcome back, and from Taste and Texture, and she's got more details to tell us as regards what we just saw. We were having a banter whether, just like you have the Ghana and John Jollof Rice banter, we have the Bayelsa bole and fish and other mede, which is better?
For me, I would just go local. I prefer the plantain with fish and, of course, the onions and the sauce at the side. Well, our cameraman, Oko, was saying, he said, goat's meat. So I said, no, forget about the goat's meat. Just leave it as fish and the plantain for me is 100%. Leave the goat's meat out of it, just the fish. And some just like with the palm oil.
I think you should do more voiceovers.
But that's what he said. I like goat's meat and fish. No way. No, just the fish.
And I like the way you said, did you say you went loco, like Kulo? Like it sounded like
I said I prefer local.
Okay.
Local.
Okay.
Like when you have it with the fish and the plantain and the sauce encompass, like it's more tastier.
Yeah, I understand.
Than all of the sausages that Fatimi.
I just got someone,
beautiful Fatimi.
One of our viewer just sent a message via social media handle saying, make her talk more, I like her voice. So that's what I was trying to do. Okay, now so I've passed the test. All right, enough of goodies for you. I hope you're having fun already as we share more details with you as regards to what's happening. We have so much about the slain soldiers, different stories popping up, but in order not to douse the happiness we intend to bring to you, we will reduce talking about that. But there's something very interesting happening. It has to do with the NNPCL, who have come out to deny any form of hiking of prices. Let's just let you know that the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has denied claims that it has reduced the pump prices of petrol and diesel. The NNPCL spokesperson Olufemi Soneye in a statement described the claims as false, asking Nigerians to disregard. But why wouldn't they can just do that for us? Must it be increased? Why can't they just come down? It's not impossible.
Do you know, funny enough, this particular report making rounds, I didn't come out with my car yesterday. I had to attend a conference, and then so I picked a cab, and then one of our colleague came up to me and said, "Oh my goodness, look at the report I just saw, and it's now the amount." And I was like, "Okay, let me ask the cab guy. He's the nearest person that will know." So I said, "Excuse me, how much did you buy petrol?" And he said, "Madam, it's still the same price. Oh, it's still the same." I was like, what? It's for fake news. So I just knew. But at a point, there was this excitement when we heard that it came down
to $300.
I heard it was even 400 different, and I was like, oh my god, awesome.
I think Nigerians probably we should keep pitching that to the government. Maybe somewhere along the line they might just.
Hopefully.
How amazing would that have been for Nigerians?
Hopefully.
I think the president, if he wants to be in our good books for life, just do that magic for us. Just make it 300.
Really.
And Nigerians will love you for life. They will always remember you as a court hero. But but it's so quick. It's very funny that the NMC had to come out so quickly to deny. But if it's an increase, they remain mum.
Exactly. Yeah, funny enough, and it's true. When it's an increase, it has to do with
they
don't say anything. Carry on. But now that it's a reduction in pump price, they quickly. And they didn't even waste time at all. Well, kudos to the spokesperson anyway to clarify the incidents, the issue at hand, giving some of us hope. And we said to ourselves, do you know, I thought that was true, and I said, gosh, and I bought fuel yesterday at this summer. Oh my God.
All right. All right, for those who were already celebrating the NMPC House, Killjoy, we call it NMPC this morning.
Yes,
but in case they said renewed hope agenda, so let's not, you can never tell.
We can never tell.
The president listens to us a lot, so let's just keep pushing the narrative to the Mr. President and his beautiful, amazing wife. Maybe she might just whisper some things to him in the other room, and Mr. President might just decide to change his mind and push for us to have a reduction. All right, it's a few minutes. I don't know, do we go sporty or do we just global? AM News is around the corner, and the producer is saying you've got 3 minutes to Global AM News. But I know there's some things you wanted to share with us as regards what's the experience you had yesterday.
Oh, yes, of course. The assistant to the president, there was a particular comment.
You know, when people do, they know they're like
No, not at all, not at all. It was an amazing experience I had yesterday, funny enough, and women coming together celebrating International Women's Day yesterday. And
they had their own different days?
They had their own different days just to celebrate women and bring women along. And of course, it was the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Citizenship and Leadership. So a lot of individuals were there. The convener, Rinsola Abiola, the SSA to the President on Citizenship and Leadership, came out, spoke about women, building women together, and you know, we were asked, who are you as a woman? So everyone had different views when it comes to being a woman.
For you, which were the top 3 views that seem to have a national look? And you know, every view is correct, but for you, which 3 views stood out?
No, the inclusiveness and reaching out to women who are vulnerable at this stage, women who are less privileged. That, for me, sank in. And, of course, knowing that as a woman, you have the capacity to make things better for yourself, coming together, networking, knowing the right people, and knowing that you are not alone. You have a gender that loves and supports you. So it was a beautiful experience, I would say.
All right, did we have the men support the women?
Of course, there were lots of men that supported the women. Of course, the DG NYSC Center Rep was there to support the women. Of course, there were ministers.
Well, have you noticed that men do not have events like this? And even when they do have, they don't have, but when you barely see women come out to say, we're standing by our men.
No, women, we stand by the men.
But you agree we don't have any events or days to celebrate the mankind?
The men are always celebrated every day. It's just that they don't make a loud noise
we
about
need money, we need this, we need this, we need this.
You provide. You're the provider, and yet you make all of these happen. You're the ones that have. You're just like the camera. You're just like Okon. We, the women, are in the spotlight. You bring the money, you take care of us, you provide, which is your duty. And you are the spotlight.
Next word.
Next one, you want to be a woman.
I'm not saying so, but next one, I think they will have to rejig the responsibilities.
But seriously, you work behind the scene and you make impact. So you don't have to come out and say, oh, okay, I'm a man. No, a man knows his duty. He takes responsibility. He's the protector.
Shouldn't we have a day to celebrate men?
No, you don't need a day. Just bring the money, that's all.
Okay, it's time for Global AM News. Oh boy, this world is unfair. That's what they say.
The world is not unfair. They say it's a man's world.
Ruled by the woman.
Thank you.
All right, it's time for us to take you to Global AM News so you get the big updates, and I hope you're laughing your hearts out and you're having fun already. I hope as we intend to make your day truly amazing. Stay with us.
Hello and welcome to AM News. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world. We're live in the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Jumai Manson. Now the news in full. Despite an early announcement cancelling the National Convention of the Labour Party LP, which was shifted from Abia to Anambra State, the exercise is currently taking place in the industrial town of Inewi amidst tight security. Some suspected hoodlums waving placards who tried to infiltrate the venue of the convention were arrested. A party chieftain said the intention of the hoodlums and their sponsors was to destabilize the convention. Julius Abure has secured his re-election as the national chairman of the Labour Party for a second term, with unanimous support from delegates. The chairman of the National Convention and Deputy Governor of Abia State, Mr. Ikechukwu Emetsu, announced the winner at the party's National Convention in Inewi, Anambra State on Wednesday. Abure has been engaged in a conflict with the leadership of the Nigerian Labour Congress headed by Joe Ajero. The Nigerian Guild of Editors has urged the government at all levels to step up efforts in addressing growing security challenges across the country. This is contained in a communique issued and signed by the NGE President Eze Namba and the General Secretary Iyobosa Uworian, also the Forum's Standing Committee meeting held in Enugu. The Guild described the recent release of students of LEA Primary School and Government Secondary School in Kuruga, Chukun local government area of Kaduna State as a good development. The Guild also called on the federal government to speak out on the editor of First News newspaper, Segun Olatunji, who was abducted from his Lagos home by some men in military uniforms. President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday congratulated Mr. Bassirou Faye on his election as the President of the Republic of Senegal. He also congratulated incumbent President Macky Sall for overseeing an election widely deemed as peaceful and transparent. Tinubu's congratulatory message is contained in a statement signed by his Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Ajiru Ngalale, titled President Tinubu congratulates President-elect Bassirou Diomaye Faye and the President and the people of the Republic of Senegal. Faye emerged as Senegal's President-elect after an unprecedented victory at the presidential election on Sunday, March 24, 2024. Governor Abba Yusuf of Kano has approved a subsidy of 500,000 naira for each of the state's intending pilgrims for the 2024 Hajj in Saudi Arabia. Alhaji Lamin Dan Bafa, the Director General of the State Pilgrims Welfare Board, said this when he briefed newsmen on Wednesday in Kano. Considering the current economic hardship the people are facing with increase in the Hajj fare is a great challenge to many intending pilgrims. The subsidy is to alleviate their sufferings. Those who have already paid part payment to the board will benefit from the subsidy, as over 2,900 intending pilgrims have already paid to the board. He said Dambafa urged all intending pilgrims to ensure that they pay the remaining balance before March 28th, as directed by the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NATCOM. You're watching AM News, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using at Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. When AM News returns, CBN directs BDCs to sell dollar at 1,269 naira per dollar. This and other more stories coming right after this break. Do stay with us. Tuning in, this is Global Television, bringing you live broadcasts of AM News Thank you for staying with us. The Minister of State, Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Dr. Maria Mahmood, has urged leaders across the country to lead with the fear of Allah and not to be autocratic. She gave the advice Tuesday when she hosted Muslims at the Iftar breaking of fast in Abuja and admonished all to continue to pray for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for progress in the zeal to surmount current challenges facing the country. Also speaking, the Deputy National Women Leader of the All Progressive Congress, APC, Zainab Ibrahim, urged Nigerians to pray for the country during these challenging times. Both Muslims and Christians are fasting. I commend the FCT Minister and the FCT Minister of State for the transformation taking place in FCT. This is a time to pray more for our dear country and our leaders. We all know that the country is going through, and I want us to know that it is a global thing. It is not just Nigeria, and this is a particular month where Allah answers the prayers of worshippers. I want us to double our efforts in prayers for Nigeria and for our leaders, she said, end of quote. For weeks, President Joe Biden and his senior officials have been losing patience with the way that Israel is fighting the war in Gaza. They have used increasingly stiff language to convey their displeasure to Israel and the wider world. The decision to allow the latest ceasefire resolution through the Security Council shows that President Biden has decided that the strong words are not enough. Removing diplomatic protection from Israel's conduct of the war is a significant step. It shows the depth of the rift that has opened between the White House and Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The UN Security Council has called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza after the U.S. did not veto the measure in a shift from its previous position. It also demanded the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages. It is the first time the Council has called for a ceasefire since the war began in October after several failed attempts. The move for the U.S. signals growing diversions between it and its ally Israel over Israel's offensive in Gaza. The Francis Scott Key Bridge in the U.S. city of Baltimore collapsed after a ship collided with it. The Maryland Transportation Authority said 1695 Key Bridge collapsed due to ship strike. The MTA posted on social media platform X. Referring to the interstate highway, it urged drivers to avoid the route over the Patapos River, which is called an active scene. Earlier, the MTA had said interstate lines in both directions were closed due to an incident on the bridge and that traffic was being redirected. A police spokesperson from the Baltimore Police Department said the police were possibly in the river. Florida State Governor Ron DeSantis signed a bill that will prohibit children younger than 14 years from joining social media in the state. According to the report, those who are 14 years or 15 years will need a parent's consent before they join a platform. The bill, HB 3, also directs social media companies to delete the existing accounts of those who are under 14. Companies that fail to do so could be sued on behalf of the child who creates an account on the platform. The minor could be awarded up to $10,000 in damages, according to the bill. Over now to the business desk, the Central Bank of Nigeria has disclosed that it will be allocating $10,000 to each Bureau de Change operator at 1,251 naira to a dollar. This was contained in a circular made available and signed by the bank's Director, Trade and Exchange Department, Dr. Hassan Mahmood. The Apex Bank directed each BDC to sell the dollar to eligible customers at a rate not exceeding 1.5% above the purchase price, implying the BDCs are not expected to sell above 1,269 naira to a dollar. On July 27, 2021, the CBN discontinued the sale of foreign exchange to BDCs, accusing them of trading FX wholesales amount greater than $5,000 in contravention of the license and Nigeria's FX regulations. The European Union, in continuation of its commitments to supporting the federal government in providing clean, affordable and sustainable energy for all, has introduced 2 new projects worth €9 million in Nigeria's energy sector. The EU disclosed this in Abuja during the project inception workshop organized in partnership with the federal government and United Nations Industrial Development Organization. With a population of over 200 million, had an electricity consumption per capita of 147 kilowatt hours in 2022. While South Africa, with a population of over 60 million, boasted of electricity consumption per capita of 3,566 kilowatt hours during the same period. According to the World Bank, according to the Central Bank of Nigeria, the country's average per hour data stood at 3,689.700 megawatts in September 2023, as it continues to struggle with low power generation and poor distribution infrastructure. University College Hospital Ibadan says it did not owe the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company 495 million naira bill. As been insinuated, UCH Public Relations Officer Mrs. Fumilayo IBEC had discontinued power supply to UCH due to what it called accumulated bills of 495 million naira, thus throwing the facility into darkness. Adetiyubi, however, said that it was not true that the hospital had an accumulated bill of 495 million naira over the last 3 years. According to her, the UCH management has also been settling the backlog of bills inherited from previous administrations. Adetiyubi denied the report that the hospital usually spent 160 million naira on diesel on a monthly basis, adding that only about 50 million naira to 70 million naira was being expanded on diesel per month. She also said that the IBEDC had never given 24 hours power supply to UCH according to the records of the hospital's internal audit department. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria reveals that it is proposing a memorandum of understanding with United Kingdom's Financial Reporting Council that will allow its members to obtain audit qualification rights in the UK. In a statement, ICANN said that the move was premised on the fact that accounting and audit practices have become global. If the proposed MOU between ICANN and FRC is signed, ICANN members can engage in an audit in the UK. The idea was mooted during a visit to the UK Financial Reporting Council led by ICANN President Dr. Innocent Okosa, as part of activities for the 11th ICANN UK International Conference. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps Commandant General Special Intelligence Squad has uncovered a massive illegal oil refinery site at a forest in Odogwa community in Eche local government area of Rivers State. The site comprises over 10 illegal refineries with an estimated 500,000 liters of crude oil contained in about 50 illegally constructed reservoirs. While 5 suspects engaged in the illicit act were arrested, the spokesman of the NSCDC River State Command, Olufemi Ayodele, disclosed this while parading the suspects and conducting newsmen around the site. The Federal Executive Council has approved the institutionalization of a 10% youth quota in all government appointments and equitable young women presentation, Dr. Jamila Ibrahim. Minister of Youth discloses at the end of the 4th FEC meeting in Abuja. She said that the council also approved the restructure of Nigerian Youth Investment Fund and the revamping of Youth Investment Fund. Kikelomo Okere has details.
The Minister of Youth says the quota will encourage young people to participate in decision-making process and in civic engagement.
We have received Council's approval to institutionalize a 30% youth quota, a 30% representation of young people in all government appointments, and an equitable young women representation inclusive of this 30%. Well, this will go a long way to address the long marginalization and exclusion of young people in decision-making, and will also go a long way to encourage young people to participate in decision-making processes and in civic engagements. This will in turn lead to young people contributing tremendously to national development.
Meanwhile, FEC has approved the setting up of Infrastructure Fund to be known as Renewed Hope Infrastructure Fund. This followed a projection that Nigeria will require over $878 billion to bridge infrastructure deficit in the country.
Wisdom of Mr. President and magnanimity, so to say, of the Council that they've approved the establishment of Renew Hope Infrastructure Fund as the catalyst to actually drive our infrastructure agenda. So this innovative fund consolidates existing resources to drive economic growth and connectivity across sectors like transport, agriculture, aviation, and education, and other social.
The Federal Executive Council also approved the construction of 28 roads and bridges across the country worth over 1.2 trillion naira. The Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, says the projects were approved by FEC, having gone through the Bureau of Public Procurement and Certificate of No Objection secured. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
Thank you, Kike Lomo, for that report. The federal government confirmed the outbreak of ginger blight epidemic in 4 states in Nigeria, adding that ginger farmers have lost over 12 billion naira due to the disease. It was this at the inauguration of the National Ginger Blight Epidemic Control Task Force in Abuja, and revealed that the fungal disease had inflicted significant damage on ginger farms in Kaduna, Nasarawa, Plateau, and the Federal Capital Territory. The Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Aliyu Abdullahi, said the blight had caused billions of naira in losses, impacting not only the livelihoods of farmers, but also Nigerians' position as the world's second-largest ginger producer. The federal government has deducted over 415 billion naira from state government allocations to service the external loans. This was according to data from the Federation Account Allocation Committee Disbursement Report published by the National Bureau of Statistics. The deductions were made between 2019 and 2023 from the allocations given to state governments from the Federation Account. The Federation account is currently being managed under a legal framework that allows funds to be shared under the 3 major components: statutory allocation, valued tax distribution, and deviation principle. The Minister of State for Environment, Dr. Isiaq Salako, has said the ministry, through the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency, will be commencing periodic review of the plans of internationally and indigenous oil companies to ensure that they stay on course to end routine gas flaring by 2030. Salako said this in Abuja at the National Stakeholders Engagement Meeting on methane mitigation and reduction in Nigeria's oil and gas sector. Methane, a potent greenhouse gas with significant warning potential compared to carbon dioxide, poses a major threat to the health and well-being of current and future generations' climate protection goals. Reducing methane emissions, especially in the oil and gas sector, will strengthen climate action and unlock the benefits of public health, food security, and economic development. Salako said practical steps are being taken to address methane emissions in the country. The minister stated that President Bola Tinubu is committed to environmental substantiality and climate action in line with the multilateral environmental agreement that Nigeria is party to. On sports now, the Euro 2024 lineup is now complete as Poland, Ukraine and Georgia triumphed in intense playoff battles on Tuesday night. The stage is now set for an electrifying UEFA Euro 2024 tournament, which kicks off in Munich, Germany on June 14th and concludes with the final in Berlin on July 14, 2024. Poland emerged victorious over Wales in penalty shootout after a goalless draw in regulation time and extra time. The match reached its climax when Wales' C. Mifram received a red card in the 120th minute, and Polish striker K. Partek secured the winning penalty, sealing Poland's place in Group D alongside Netherlands, Austria and France. The former chairman Chinese Football Association Ying Shane has been sentenced to life in prison for accepting bribe worth $11 million, state media said. A string of sport officials were jailed for corruption. Under the President Xi Jinping, a sweeping crackdown on official graft has struck hard at China's sports industry, especially football. About 10 senior leadership and executive of the CFA, including former national team coach Li Tai, have been brought down in recent years. Zhen took advantage of this position at the CFA and other bodies to illegally accept sums of money from other people totaling 81.03 million yen, $11 million. As we end AM News, let's take a quick look at our top stories again. Tinubu vet Foreign Affairs Ministry's ambassadorial list. CBN EFCC probe banks firms over alleged forex racketeering. Address growing security challenges, NGE urges government. Although APC elders asked Ayedatiwa to probe governor aspirant's death on sports, Poland, Ukraine, Georgia secure final Euro 2024 spot. And that's it on AM News, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on Star Times channel 276. Can you follow us across all social media platforms by using a Global TV Engine and the handles now showing on your screen. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching. See you again. Good morning.
Welcome back. You're still watching Africa's Finest Breakfast Show. It's Global Morning on Global Television, and that's done with the Global AM News, where you got the big stories that are making the rounds across the world and in Africa's biggest black nation, Nigeria. It's now time for us to hit you with some sporting stories making the rounds, so that we can hit the 8-hour mark, where we'll be looking into what the papers are saying in Nigeria and across the world, talking about the paper review segment. Hopefully we'll be having the former director of news of the African Independent Television in the person of Sunday Ayemi, who will be helping us look at the big stories and giving us very balanced analysis of every story we'll be looking at in the different national dailies right here in Nigeria. But before we do that, let's run into the exciting world of sport and give you the big stories making the rounds. Stay with us. Hello, sport fans. Welcome to Sports News Update. Cristiano Ronaldo filmed as he left the pitch following Portugal's 2-0 defeat away to Slovenia in a friendly match on Tuesday night. The 39-year-old superstar set out the previous game against Sweden, which took Roberto Martinez's side to 11 straight wins under his control. But Ronaldo returned to start the game in Ljubljana. However, second half goals from midfielders Andre Serin and Timmy Esnik ensured that Slovenia got a surprise victory over Portugal, leaving Ronaldo unhappy. Footage showed the Al Nassr star storming off the pitch at the end of the game. Portugal had 10 shots during the game, two of which fell to Ronaldo's way, but they were unable to convert any of their chances and became undone by the resilient performance from the host, who will be in England's group at Euro 2024. We now have our complete lineup for Euro 2024 after the final 3 teams booked their places at this summer's tournament in Germany via playoffs. Wales' dream was brought to a heartbreaking end as they lost to Poland on penalties in Cardiff, while Georgia also knocked out Greece thanks to spot kicks, and Ukraine came from behind to beat Iceland 2-1. England sealed their spot with minimal fouls by winning their qualifying group and are regarded as one of the favorites to finally end their 58-year wait for a major trophy. In Group A, we have Germany, Scotland, Hungary, and Switzerland, while in Group B is Spain, Croatia, Italy, and Albania. In Group C, Slovenia, Denmark, Serbia, and England. In Group D is Poland, Netherlands, Austria, and France. In Group E is Belgium, Slovakia, Romania, and Ukraine. In Group F is Turkey, Georgia, Portugal, and Czech Republic. Novak Djokovic has made a shock announcement on Instagram that he and a longtime coach, Goran Ivanisevic, have ended their partnership after 6 years. Djokovic and the Croatian legend have proven one of the most potent player-coach duos in tennis history after a stunning dominant period that has earned the Serbian some 12 Grand Slam titles. While Djokovic already had 12 titles to his name, Ivanisevic, in part on his serve, has been well documented, helping to sharpen a far from a blunt tool to turn Djokovic from difficult to beat at a time invisible in the last few years. Yet the world number one's decline, if retaining top sport and the world can be called a decline, has been noted by some, with an upset at the Australian Open followed by a poor performance at the India Wells. Djokovic revealed that the news on social media, but insisted that despite the up-and-down nature of their partnership and eventual split, their friendship remains rock solid. Victoria Azarenka's quarterfinal match against Yulia Putintseva was suspended for 45 minutes at the Miami Open after a power issue led the Hawkeye system to switch off in fascia scenes. Play stopped just 17 minutes into Tuesday's game at the Hard Rock Stadium. At the time, Putintseva was leading 2-1, 7-30, with no immediate response provided. Is left with no choice but to pause the match and summon both players to the net. She then briefed them on the technical issue. Play eventually resumed 3/4 of an hour later. Azarenka is a 3-time Miami Open winner, having won the WTA tournament in 2009, 2011, and 2016. Wrapping it up, talking boxing, Eddie Hearn has slammed Francis Ngannou for appearing to suggest that his demolishing defeat by Anthony Joshua was down to his early arrival at the arena. Joshua knocked down the former UFC heavyweight champion 3 times in 2 rounds to secure a dominant victory in Saudi Arabia. Ngannou, in a recent interview on the MMA Hour, said that he arrived at the Kingdom Arena in Riyadh 2 hours earlier than Joshua, appearing to suggest that this was a trick to tire him out. Joshua's promoter Hearn has taken exception with the comment, suggesting the 37-year-old should know better. Ngannou, after the fight, confessed that he couldn't remember being knocked out by Joshua and that from going back to his stool in between the first and second rounds, he wasn't there anymore. And that's how we call it a wrap on the Sports News Update. I am Anthony Momodu. Welcome back from that very quick break, so to say. You're still watching Africa's Finest Breakfast Show. We'll be looking at some of the issues that are making the rounds in the papers while we wait, and hope our guests will be joining us via Zoom or live in the studios so that we take some analysis. But let's still dwell a little bit as regards the story concerning NNPCL denies adjusting the fuel pump price. It's a very interesting talking point, talking about the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited denied their claims that it reduced the pump prices of petrol and diesel. The NNPCL spokesperson, Olufemi Soneye, in a statement described the claims as false, asking Nigerians to disregard the same. Meanwhile, reports that some posts on social media platforms on Wednesday said the NMC had reduced the pump price of petrol below 600 naira, while the diesel was adjusted below 900 naira. Reacting, the NMC said it wanted to clarify that these stories were not true. But like we know in the oil sector, most times when we hear of rumors like that, that there's going to be an increase, usually there is an increase. But now the reverse is the case. We're hearing this and we were hoping it was going to be true. But the NNPCL was quick to pour cold water on our hopes, saying that is not the case. Mm-hmm. And I wonder why they didn't let it happen the way it happens.
You're so saddened by this news, Anthony.
Yeah, because if it was true, or if they can allow it and make it be true, then prices of food commodities, transportation, everything was going to drop drastically.
Yeah, that's true.
Automatically.
That's true.
And I think it's not out of place if they could make it, even if maybe maximally 400. Yes, it could still help prices of food items and transportation, and all everything drop. But I'm sure with this, I always believe in something, and maybe is it a slogan, or how would I place it? It says, for every rumor there's an atom of truth in it, or for every fake news, I do not know where that will go now. So, it sounded like you're bringing hope. I was even
hoping your hope, right?
I was even hoping that your statement was going to be this killjoy partner.
But the thing is, let's just see how well it plays out, because I'm sure those in authority, when it comes to the federal government, they see the plight of Nigerians, they see the worry on Nigerians. We see how the economy, the down toll in which the economy is going. But we are hoping that this will become a reality as soon as possible. So let's be hopeful.
All right, Renewed Hope Agenda is the era we are, so we're keeping hope alive. The next story has to do with the picture that you're going to see on the screen very soon. It has to do with the FIRS. Whenever you hear FIRS, people are not so happy because it talks about taxes and more payment to the government. So the big story says FIRS will not introduce additional taxes. At least this one is good. So the big story here says the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue, Zach Adedeji, has restated the agency's commitment not to introduce additional taxes in the country. His picture is going to pop up in case you don't know Adedeji, Zach. Adedeji started this on Wednesday when the Chief Executive Officer of Guinness Nigeria PLC, Adebayo Ali, led the management team to the company to visit in the Revenue House in Abuja. The FIRS boss, in a statement signed by the special advisor on media to the FIRS boss, talking about Dari Adekombi, was quoted saying the president gave a directive that he wants single-digit tax in the country, meaning that the maximum number of taxes we will have after the work of the Presidential Committee on Policy and Tax Reforms will be 9 taxes. I think the issue of taxes has always been a very sour point, especially when we talk about the ease of doing business. Most companies, international organizations, even Nigerian companies always complain of double taxes, where 3 different agencies come to collect taxes for the same thing. And it kills businesses because it means you have to pay huge amounts of money. And so I think it's the right direction when the president says it has to be single-digit tax.
Yeah, but and of course, with the single-digit tax, it's able to find out those who like to invade. How do you call it?
Evade?
No, who.
Like try to run away?
Yes, exactly.
Evade.
No, be careful, Anthony.
No, I'm asking. You said
no.
run away.
People that do not
want to pay
people
tax.
that do not want to pay taxes.
Yes, they evade.
Invade, yes.
No, evade.
Oh, okay.
You are getting me confused.
Okay. All right.
Okay, now we're having issues with whether we're invading or evading. When you invade, you run away. When you invade, you take over.
Just pick the word you want. It's okay. Well, for those out there, it's going to be easy to
evade.
To fish them out. So it's a step in the right directions, but good news that we don't have to pay.
There's not going to be any additional taxes.
When it comes to a particular payment, it won't be done twice or thrice.
Okay.
It's just going to be done once. So the single digit makes a lot of sense, and it is a step in the right direction.
All right, we're hoping more goodies will come in terms of policies from the federal government as a way of cushioning or reducing the grief and sufferings Nigerians are going through. Let's not forget that in the next couple of days, today is Thursday, we've got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Easter is here, and lots of traveling on my way to work this morning. Lots of families, cars filled to the brim, traveling to different parts of the country. I also did journey halfway with some family heading to Jos this morning, and you feel like they're never going to come back because the car is filled to the brim. And the question is, do Nigerians still want to travel, even with the cries for fuels and no money? And there's this attraction.
Okay, attraction.
Attraction, I said.
Attraction or attraction? Let's be sure.
We said attraction
yada.
with families.
Oh,
people always want to be with their families regardless of what. Okay, this is where somebody wants to get at you, looking for a way to get an equalizer, like we say in football.
Well, the thing is, Nigerians are happy people when it comes to celebration. We do not take it for granted. It doesn't matter what the country is saying. We are happy people. So we try as much as possible to come together and celebrate. So, well, the Easter is around the corner. The Easter Friday is tomorrow.
Okay.
So, of course.
You're confirming.
Well, that is it.
Okay,
basically.
so on Friday, let's, while we're in the mood of the Easter celebrations, do you agree with those who say the Easter should be more celebrated than any other form of celebration, because that's when your Lord Jesus Christ died on the cross and resurrected, which is very important to the Christian faith than his birthday.
Well, I think for me both is very significant.
Okay, because if he didn't come, he wouldn't die.
If he didn't come, he wouldn't have died.
Okay, so
the thing is, let's just celebrate it the way it comes and be happy. For Christian faithfuls out there, the death of Jesus Christ has done a lot for the humanity when it comes to the Christian faith. And of course, celebrating the birth of Jesus also, it's a beautiful thing for humanity when it comes to the Christian faith. So take it as it comes. There's none that is more important than the other. They all have various degrees and they should be celebrated in the same way for me.
All right, well said there. Let's look at...
Joy Manson, of course.
Okay, in case you didn't know her name. All right, we got... she's making me laugh.
What's going on, Anthony? It's Global Morning.
Yeah, we've got a guest via Zoom. We've got Sunday Ayemi, who is the former news director of African Independent Television, AIT, join us via Zoom to help us look at some of the big stories making their rounds in the newspapers. We hope the papers are here with us already. Let's look at some of... Sunday Ayemi, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Ayemi, good morning, Sunday. Good morning, Sunday Ayemi. Thank you for joining us on via Zoom. Okay, I think he can barely hear us. Well, I think we'll go ahead looking at one important story did come out yesterday, where the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, NIFU, has said they uncovered different cells across the globe, about 27 cells belonging to IPOB in 22 countries over the globe, where including the United States, funny enough, the UK, and the Northern Ireland, the unit its counterterrorism financing letter dated that these cells, 27 cells in 22 countries, have a way of, they have been supporting IPOB technically, indirectly, and which is very disturbing, and it's very sad to notice that countries like the United Kingdom, the US, and other countries are involved in trying to, I don't know, this is sabotage the country Nigeria.
Yes, it is.
On one hand, they are our ally, on the other hand, they're supporting IPOB. And Simon Ekpa, who is one of their factional leaders, seems to be having a square time until the long hand of the law will catch up with him.
Definitely.
But I would expect them to go furthermore and probably name names of people directly involved in this.
Directly or indirectly.
The monies are going through banks and going through some accounts, so they should be able to arrest these people so that we can actually solve the issue of the southeast crisis.
And looking at the critically, when you hear countries like the UK, America, and so on and so forth, of course, Nigeria is an oil-rich company, and everyone has interest. So various interests of these countries they come into play when it comes to the oil in which we have. So I would not be surprised if they have a hand in this and playing a part in all of this when it comes to Nigeria as a whole, and of course igniting and supporting the INEC, I said INEC, the iPod. Why am I laughing?
Okay, yeah. It's something that they need to do, like NIFLU. They need. I guess they need to do more to ensure that, and not just naming to say this is what they've discovered, but what they're doing in terms of trying to prosecute these persons and these countries. We've got diplomatic ties with these countries.
Yes, we do.
We hope that they will be able to speak to the government of these countries so that the right things can be done and have a way of, closing up all those cells,
very important.
Very key.
Very key, very important.
All right, so we'll be taking some, we've got some entertainment to go with this.
Yes, we have. Up next is entertainment news. Stick around, don't go anywhere. Global Morning continues shortly.
Nollywood actress Beverly Naya has revealed that she considered giving up acting after dealing with cyberbullying. Naya opened up about how her mental health was affected by the negativity she faced in her career and how she felt. She said, "There was this particular blog that literally kept coming for me and always had the most negative thing to say about everything that I was in, and it felt like a personal attack." Stressed that the consistent attack made her consider quitting. "I felt like I was being attacked again, like why am I always being singled out? So it literally got to me and it damaged my self-esteem and made me doubt myself, and I didn't want to continue in this industry." Tearing up, she emotionally recounted a single post that was made about her, which was enchanted into her memory. Narrating how the words broke her down, she said, "There was this particular post that I can never forget. They said, 'Nollywood, can we stop trying to make Beverly Naya happen?' When I saw it, I was crushed, and I cried my eyes out because of that. I was angry because I felt like I worked hard. At the time, I wasn't perfect, I'm still not perfect, but I was willing and I was pushing myself, and I really felt like I did my best, and I was trashed and singled out and irrelevant. I was borderline depressed during that period. Beverly Naya had appeared in notable Nollywood movies like Forgetting June, The Wedding Party, When Love Happens, and Across the Rising Sun. Amongst many others, she also won an AMVCA for the documentary of her film, Skin. Nigerian comedian Ali Baba has emphasized the need for education in preventing issues like sexual harassment and murder. Ali Baba highlighted the importance of education for children, particularly those under the age of 10. He began, "Someone asked me 2 days ago, if you could change one thing across the world, what would it be? I would give formal education to people between the age of birth and 10, he says. The comic stressed that education within the formative year of children leads to a better understanding of boundaries and other burning issues as they grow. It is so critical, and it is the failure to do that make people not to know the value of life or the essence of humanity, and not know that you have the respect, order, space, value, and boundaries, all that can be achieved through education," he said. Ali Baba now recalled an incident in which he witnessed a man sexually harassing a woman. "There was a time I asked the man, 'Why are you touching the lady? She is not responding to you and you are dragging her.' And then he said, 'That's how women behave.' Shay, you see, if you are educated enough, you would know that that is sexual harassment. You would know that such an act can escort you in some time in jail," he narrates. He continued, "The only thing is when you say certain things like no is no to certain people because they aren't educated, they would argue with you. Some would say, some women, when they say no, they mean yes, so when you get to jail term, now you would know." He also stressed the need for education in preventing senseless murders, assassinating that a person who is educated on the value of human life would know better. I said we were going to talk about burning issues in the national space. For example, a group of men would not go and kill military men when they know that you shouldn't even kill any human being in the first place. If you educate enough, you would know that dialogue and justice are the best way for anything you want, he concluded. That's that on Entertainment News. To have a great day.
All right, welcome back from that very quick break, entertainment update, and you can tell just while the United Nations put the 21st to the 27th of March every year to celebrate these people struggling with racism and racial discrimination, you can tell how bad it is, especially when it affects the mental health of a person. I, as one, have experienced it, so I know how it feels like. In the world of sport, we've seen Vinicius Jr. experience it several times while playing for Real Madrid in Spain, when he's being called a monkey chant every time he's with the ball. Some football fans throwing bananas at him. You know, that's all about racial discrimination, and you could see that the Hollywood actress. But I wonder why she should feel like she's beautiful, she's amazing, she's got an amazing career. Just like they say in Nigeria, lock up. Just make them feel like they don't exist. I think that's the best way to shield yourself against racism.
I think it's easier to say than done, because a lot of people, that's why it's called mental health. It's not your outer appearance that speaks, it's the inner man that tells you that you are being disrespected, you're being bullied. The inner man speaks that negative, and that is why it
speaks the negative, or tells you that's what they're doing to you.
It tells
exactly
you,
what they're
and
doing.
it speaks. And funny enough, it could be directly or indirectly. It might just be like a waiver, like a joke, and then the mind plays the trick on you, and then it goes to that mental state. So that's why mental health is really real. So we should take it. We shouldn't take it lightly. You should watch the kind of words you say to people. Your actions, very importantly, what you say to people, so they won't break down into that mental state. Some people, I do not know why Anthony is laughing. Some people, some individuals, mentally they need help. I do not know.
Oh my God!
Why are we laughing so much on Global Morning today?
You're being the doctor and the victim, or the
are you serious?
Perpetrator.
Wow. Okay.
That's why I'm laughing. It's good to hear the perpetrator play the doctor.
See, do you know what the thing is? The thing is, some people do not understand the state at which mental health can cause. You can laugh about it now because you have not gone through, you have no idea or clue what mental health. Oh wow, you have, no wonder when I look at your hair. So the truth is, you already even
the one. All right, I think like they say, no laugh day today. There's so much laugh. I have a friend who, usually she will say no birthday, no talk day, and I guess today is too much laugh day. All right, amazing to know you're out there and you're having fun with us. We'll be going for a very quick break. Chibaiman team will be going out to try to fix some other things to ensure that the program turns out amazing towards the end. And while we'll be getting a guest, hopefully Richard Essien will be joining us to help us look at responsible leadership, the skill set needed, the qualities and the drivers that would help us achieve national development. That's going to be the next talking point in the next few minutes while we go for this quick break. And I know you want to say semi-goodbyes.
Semi-goodbye. Just stay with us. Global Morning continues.
All right, welcome back from the break. You're still watching Africa's Finest Breakfast Show. It's Global Morning, and I'm so excited because I've got an environmental expert in the studio with me, so it means I'm quite very safe. All right, I'll be looking at climate change, the effects of climate change, and we'll be reviewing Nigeria's environmental challenges and also looking at the policies and the way forward. No other better person, but one of Nigeria's best in terms of talking about the environment is no other person but Greg Odogu is in the studio. And that name, when you say Odogu, you know, it reminds of something rock solid. So let's look at climate change, the effects. For many years, many countries, especially in the African domain, many countries, many citizens didn't take climate change serious. We thought it was just one of those narratives being spread by the Western world. But in reality, 2024, how real is climate change and what are the visible effects we can see?
Well, the interesting thing is that climate change has become so real because they don't even need to be told about the narrative. Everybody's feeling the heat. If you're not seeing the floods, you are feeling the heat. Even right now, even people that go to work in AC cars, they will tell you that it's not enough to protect them from the heat. And the heat wave is one of the impacts of climate change. Actually, just like in your introduction, a lot of people thought initially it was a Western thing.
True.
They thought the Western world, or let's say the white guys, they have come to bamboozle us with just one of those theories. Yes. But at the end of the day, in 1997, when we saw flooding, especially in the eastern part of the world, that's the Asia, it does dawn on anybody. It does dawn on everybody that what we're talking about, the environment, is real. Then in 2012, Nigeria had a national catastrophe. In terms of flooding.
I remember Benue and other states.
Yeah, the Benue River overflowed from the outcome from Lagdo Dam opening by the government of Cameroon.
True.
And it came down and
Kogi State and other states
coalesced in the epicenter in Lokoja, where everybody saw that buildings were submerged and vehicles could not pass. It repeated in 2022, 10 years down the line. In that 2012, we had never seen it so bad. About 600 people died, and the properties worth billions of naira. Then in 2022, 300 people died. Properties worth more than 7 billion. And then more than 1.2 million people were displaced. So we started to say, is this climate change really in our backyard? But now let's go back to how it all started. In the 70s, the scientists were saying that the temperature of the world was getting so high, so that the world needed to know there is something called global warming.
Yes, that's when that term global warming came to be.
Global warming, whereby the average temperature of the world was increasing in a way that is above the pre-industrial level. That is, before the world started using industries and machines, the temperature that was there is called pre-industrial level. So now it's going so high that it's going to hit 1.5 degrees Celsius. So now it's going to 2 degrees Celsius now.
Wow.
And in 100 years to come, it's going to be about 3 degrees Celsius. And it is worrying because at that time, the heat will be so much that the world will not be able to cope. That is why in 1992, the world decided after the Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit in 1992 that we should have a consensus globally to stop this dangerous tilt of the climate. So that's when the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change was agreed as a globally binding agreement for the whole world to fight climate change. That was in 1992. Nigeria is a signatory. Nigeria signed it in 1994, ratified. So we are part of that global fight against climate change.
Okay, but looking at Nigeria, first of all, when you talk about global warming, can we say the world on her own part has done enough to try to reduce global warming by changing the kind of, we know that recently people are moving away from fossil fuel to other forms of energy as a way of fighting global warming. We also see for cars moving from using of this thing to electricity. Do you think Nigeria or the African continent itself has done enough or is doing enough, especially with Nigeria still getting involved with this oil production drilling?
Well, one of the specific ways to fight climate change is reducing your carbon emissions. And carbon emissions is from, you are right, from fossil fuels, and which we are using now. So, but the thing is that we have to also understand that Africa is the least contributor.
Okay, to the global warming. Okay.
So we contribute, Nigeria as a country contributes just 0.2%.
Even with the gas flaring?
Yes, 0.2%. Then Africa about 3%. So GHGs, it's called greenhouse gases. The gases that cause climate change: carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, sulfur, and some other, even ozone, some other gases. All of them are under greenhouse gases. So Nigeria and Africa contribute little. But now there is an agreement that the whole world, no matter the amount you contribute, we have to fight it. It was agreed in Paris.
During the summit?
In 2015.
Okay.
So after the agreement, every country is supposed to submit how they are going to cut emissions. We agreed that we are going to cut our emissions 20% of cut in global emissions. That is when...
Well, was that realistic? Did Nigeria just sign that because the global community was signing it, or we had the capacity to do that?
Well, you know, the world said that according to your capacity.
Okay, okay.
Yes,
customized
your so you have to go home and decide how you want to do it. So we said we are going to cut 20%.
Okay.
And then we are going to, if the world gives us funding or help, we are going to cut 45%. So, and we came back and we had what is called energy transition policy. You know, so, and we have another one. In 2021, Nigeria signed the National Climate Change Act, so that there will be a consensus, a concentric effort in transportation, in energy production, in water resources, in agriculture. There are about 5 sectors that we are going to cut these emissions. So the Western world, because they have the wherewithal, they are now phasing out fossil cars. You know, cars that use petroleum from crude oil. They are the fossil using cars. But we don't have the wherewithal and the technology. So, but we have some other sectors we could do that. We have what it calls climate smart agriculture that we will use. We have what climate friendly water resources management that we will use. And
I would like you to expatiate a little bit on the smart climate agriculture and the water you just mentioned.
Water resources
management, yes.
So, these sectors that we could, because of you know, we are fundamentally using primitive forms of adaptation, agriculture and other. So what it means is that you use less water. So you use
less water.
Yes.
Okay.
You use less water. You store water, then you don't waste it. Then you don't cut down trees, and you don't use methane. You know, you don't dump. Like, let me give you an instance. You hear about the natural gas we are trying to use for driving.
The CNG, pressed natural gas, CNG.
Is a way of also fighting climate change. Because methane is the natural gas. Which also is part of the GHG. So instead of allowing it to emit,
does the gas flaring now?
Compress it, yes. You will not compress it and use it for fuel. So it's a sort of transition gas. Transition means even if we don't have the money, we do the little we can until we have the money. We are on transition because there is a long-term plan for Nigeria to cut down these emissions by 2060. That's the long term. So we are going there gradually. So that's smart agriculture, whereby you use little money. You use little water.
Water, yeah.
You know, then you plant according to, you know, there is hypotronic agriculture. You use a little space. And you achieve so much food production.
Okay.
You don't waste land. And you don't allow land to
that's
fallow.
Okay, so that's like encouraging every family to have a small garden within their setup.
Exactly. It's part of it, because another thing is composting. Instead of using fertilizer that is not
friendly. Yeah, okay.
You have compost.
Soil.
You do biodegradable materials. You know, those things that can rot,
into the soil and help the soil.
We put them together and use them as manure. And also the biogas, those things, you can use them, convert them into gas. Instead of throwing them away. You are now smarter.
So technically you're recycling.
Yeah, it's recycling, of course, because the resources, you are using them sustainably. Sustainable development is a development whereby you treat your environment in a way that you are still going to have it remain for your children yet unborn, you know, because you are thinking about tomorrow. So you don't just cut down things, throw them away. You know, they will now, you know, be
of danger
to the environment. So you recycle, you reuse, and you reduce. Reuse, reduce, reuse.
Yes. Okay, let's looking at in terms of for Nigeria, what would you say are the key challenges? We know that some people will say bad road network, we see the gutters not well drained, so we have poor drainage system. What other challenges would you say is what is facing Nigeria? And then we can now look at the policies before we wrap up our discourse.
Okay, there are some problems that are very visible. Then there are some that you will not be able to see. So when you say we don't have drainages, or sometimes we have drainages, but they are silted, and the authorities are not desilting them. For instance, in Abuja, we have drainages that were inbuilt when the infrastructure for Pakistan was constructed, but they are now blocked, they are silted, and the authorities have watched why people take away the covers,
the manholes,
okay, of our cities. So what you get is flooding. Flash floods will be happening. So the infrastructural decay is a challenge. Apart from the funding, then the intellectual capacity, the capacity to engage. A lot of people do not have the information they need to have. They don't know that some of the things they are doing are causing climate change. Even, for instance, when you cut down trees, you cook with charcoal and you cook with firewood, you are adding to the carbon emissions, because what the trees does is that what they do is that they take the the carbon from the atmosphere and they give out oxygen. That's what the trees does. So when you cut them down, what you have done is that you have impacted on the environment by releasing carbon that is supposed to be concentrated in the trees and taken out of the environment, instead of going to cause global warming. So when you cut down the trees, when you do agriculture that is, when you use dirty fuel to cook, you know, that's why we are talking about clean cooking now.
Okay.
Clean cooking will reduce the global emissions of gas into the atmosphere. The other challenges we have, for instance, is that we don't have the technology to do smart agriculture, what is happening now is that the government is showing more resilience to adapt, because we have some support from the international community being part of this agreement. Just like I said, that the international community is giving us some support. So that
financial support.
Of course. And capacity. You know, they train our officials, they train our experts, so that they will have capacity to engage, to go into the nooks and crannies of the state.
The states, okay.
And also weather. If you watch now, you see an agency called Nigeria Meteorological Agency.
Yeah.
They now give weather forecasts yearly and biannually, and even breaking it down in English language, Pidgin, and Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, the three major Nigerian languages. You know why? So that the people in the rural areas will know, they will be smart in their farming. You know, if you, for instance, you put your crops in the ground and the rain starts, you will think, for instance, the rainy season has started. Then the rain stops again. It's called late onset of rain, delayed onset.
Okay.
So your crops, your seed may got rotten in the ground.
Okay.
So you have lost crops and you have lost ground. So but the weather information, climate and weather information, that comes from the appropriate agencies. When it goes down to the grassroots, especially the people that practice homestead
agriculture, okay.
So it will now help them to know when to start farming. There are people in the northern part of the country, they farm, the farming pattern should be different from the ones in the southern part of the country. So I think that is one way, for instance, that the people have to engage. The people have to engage with the authorities to make sure that this fight against climate change is organic.
All right, let's as we almost reach the business end of the discourse, let's look at the policies. Have Nigeria have we gotten the right policies to help sustain the fight against climate change, especially after signing treaties abroad when we go for summits? Have we been able to domesticate all these treaties in the states, in the local government areas, across board?
It's actually ongoing because we, like I told you that in 2021, we now have what is called National Climate Change Act, which is concentrating every effort into one basket and is headed by the president. And then the 9 committees, the 9 ministries that their activities are related to climate change, like agriculture, health, Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Transportation, Ministry of Power, and so on and so forth. But to answer your question, we've started this a long time ago. We had, even before 2021, we had what is called the National Action Plan for climate change. We have another one, a national adaptation.
But what happened? Is it that we're not consistent? We didn't follow through, or what?
Well, sometimes those policies do not. They are different from a legal framework, which has the bite of law, which we just signed in 2021.
Okay, so now we have a legal framework that gives it a bite.
We have from 2021, and also, it takes time to actually trickle down. But now you see many NGOs, many
civil society organizations, yes,
are doing a lot of work on this. So it's not as if there is no work going on, but the thing is to trickle it down to the states, and the states are coming up with their own state policies. For the first time, a state, we have agriculture and food security. A state like Kaduna State now has special assistant to the governor on climate change, specifically. States like Akwa Ibom State, for instance.
Okay.
They started because it's environmental, because of Niger Delta.
Yeah. And what of the people of the Southeast? Do they have they embraced these issues in terms of getting the right policies? Because we know that in the Southeast there's this erosion challenge.
Erosion. Well, the policies are being worked on for some people that do not have. For now, I don't have the statistics of those that have the policies, but I know there are, the states come together. So because Nigeria is signatory to what is called the UNFCCC.
Okay. Which stands for
United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. That is the main global agreement that Nigeria is signed on to, that has brought the Kyoto Protocol of 1997 and the one we talked about, the Paris Climate Agreement of 2015. All the states, my point is that all the states are required to work with the federal government to make this to happen. Because the areas I tell you that we are fighting climate change, these sectors of transportation, energy, agriculture, and so on, is also the commissioners of these sectors from the states. So to work together. So it's an ongoing job. But the thing is that Nigeria is trying to have a compendium of an inventory of our greenhouse gas, so that we will now report accordingly. Every nation is required to report after every 5 years to the international community. And you cannot do that if you don't carry the states along.
True.
We did our first report in 2021. And we have, entered the second phase. The next 5 years, we are
we likely to send the report?
Of course, this year we are submitting our long-term to the global community again. And in this second one we submitted after the first from 2015.
What was the feedback? And has the report helped us gain more finances in terms of support or more technical support?
There is something called Global Green Climate Fund. It has not, the Western world, like the rich countries that have agreed that they are going to bring it for $100 billion every year to the developing world. We are part of the developing world. They have not released that money.
Why?
But, there is political will in this sense. They will make promises they will not keep. So, but it's ongoing because last year in Dubai, there was a COP28 in Dubai.
Right, true. Nigeria was there.
Yes, of course. Yeah. The president,
it was,
the delegation. The world agreed that we are too slow and the world is warming very fast. So we have to speed up. That's why this year is very critical that we speed up. If you understand, last year was the hottest year
ever in the history of the world. To say.
February last month was now adjudged as the hottest month. So it's getting worse. So the world. My point is that the international community is taking it seriously now. So their support is going to come, and Nigeria is also taking it serious. If you understand the banning of plastics. Lagos State government is part of the fight against climate change actually, and the House of Reps has made that statement. But the government is a continuum actually, and it also requires me and you, requires every stakeholder to come on board and also to support what the government is doing. Because if the government tells you not to cut down, and you go and cut down.
But do you think we've gotten enough sensitization to those in the rural areas, those people on the streets, the shoemakers, and have we done enough in terms of sensitization? Because if, like you rightly pointed, if they don't know the effect, they would not support it. And the market women, do they understand? Because they just hear climate change, but putting it in the lowest form, layman's language. Don't you think we've not done enough in that respect?
I will not say we have not done enough. I will say enough remains to be done.
Okay.
Yes, because actually the stakeholders are doing their best, and I'm part of the stakeholders. I know they are actually. You will be surprised. Just like yesterday, there was a climate change conference organized by the Women Environment Program. You will be surprised that a traditional ruler from Kaura local government in Kaduna State came all the way to Abuja to get more information to take back to the women that are in the farms. So people are actually coming out. I mean, a traditional ruler that will give you all the excuses in the world that
he can
will not leave his community, and even with the insecurity. So I'll have to give it to these people, and people that are also doing clean cooking stoves in rural areas. So the information is going out. Then NIMET, the National Meteorological Agency, that is using Pidgin, English, Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba to alert, to sensitize farmers, even in the rural areas, in Olo, in Ushishi, in Kawara Namuda, in the most rural community in Osun State. A farmer came during the national, where they briefed the nation on the climate of the state, speaking his language because he couldn't even speak in English. So, so I believe enough will be done as time goes on.
Okay, we hope you'll be coming more often so that you can help the spread of the climate change narrative, so that Nigerians can make their own contribution as we hope to save the world from ourselves, because the world belongs to us. All right, we've been talking to one of Africa and Nigeria's foremost and very important environment experts in the person of Odogwu, making very key talk as regards what needs to be done by every citizen as a way of contributing towards fighting climate change. We've had Greg Odogwu joining us, and I want to say thank you very much for all the information you've pushed out today via Global Television, and we hope that in the coming days and weeks you come to educate Nigerians more as regards the importance of fighting climate change and the fact that we all have to do our own tiny bits to support the world in fighting climate change. All right, we'll be going for a very quick break. When we return from the break, it's another talking point as we look at responsible leadership is what we'll be looking at. We'll be looking at the qualities needed, the skill sets, the drivers towards achieving a very sound, nation. That will be our guest will be joining us. He is no other person, but we've got Richard Essien who will be joining us after this break. Stay with us. Okay, thank you very much. Africa Finance Breakfast Show has in store for you. Let's take some business news update. When we're done with that, hopefully it's going to be time for us to get into our discourse as we look at the next talking point with our guest who will be joining us live in the studios. But first of all, let's go get some business news updates. Then we return back. Stay with us.
Welcome to Business Report on Global Morning. The CBN Monetary Policy Committee has increased the benchmark interest rate by 200 basis points from 22.75% to 24.75%. This was disclosed by the Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, who doubles as the chairman of the MPC while addressing journalists at the end of the 294th MPC meeting held in Abuja. Furthermore, the Apex Bank retained the cash reserve ratio at 45%, unchanged from its last meeting, but increased the CRR of Merchant Bank from 10% to 14%, while retaining liquidity ratio at 30%. The present monetary policy rate of 24.75% is unusually high, reflecting the bank's strong commitment to tackling inflation and exchange rate fluctuation. While this 200 basis points hike is steep, it still doesn't surpass the substantial 400 basis points raise implemented by the bank in February. It says the cash reserve ratio of commercial banks was retained at 45%, while CRR Merchant Bank was increased to 14% from 10%, but the liquidity ratio was left at 30%. Cardoso explained that members of the MPC were faced with continuing with the tightening cycle or hold a see further impact of last month's MPR hike, but at the end, after reviewing the balance of the risk, it was decided that a further tightening was the way to go. The CBN governor explained that the impact of the decision taken during the February Monetary Policy Committee meeting on the country's economy focused on the inflation and exchange rate. Speaking on the foreign exchange, the Apex Bank boss insisted that the backlog of all valid FX transactions had been cleared, adding that security agencies is investigating infractions discovered by the audit firm. Speaking on Binance, the governor rules out that the CBN has collaborated with security and other agencies of the government in handling the case, adding that it is the responsibility of the Security and Exchange Commission to regulate cryptocurrency. However, the next meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee meeting by the Apex Bank is scheduled for May 2024. The Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines and Agriculture has expressed concern over CBN's MPR hike to 24.75%, warning of negative impact on Nigerian private sector. In a statement by the president of the association, Dele Oye, says the increase in MPR to 24.75% and cash reserve ratio to 45% will have severe repercussions on private businesses in the country. According to Oye, the association had earlier written to the CBN governor on March 13, 2024, when the Apex Bank first raised the MPR to 22.75%. Reiterating its position, the president says the private sector has been sidelined from the decision-making process of the Apex Bank. He also mentioned that this policy will inadvertently cause inflation, with businesses likely to increase the prices of goods and services to offset the higher borrowing costs. The president outlined 4 key issues the association has with the Apex Bank rate hike in a formal statement, saying increase in the cost of borrowing, existing loan will incur higher interest rates, raising the cost of capital for businesses. This scenario discourages entrepreneurial activities and expansion plans, which are vital for economic growth and job creation. The president emphasized the need for the clear policy direction communicated quarterly and a strong strategy to engage stakeholders, ensuring the private sector input in policy making. The African Development Bank Group has approved a $50 million loan approval for Yobe State Environmental and Climate Change Action Project, ECCAP, towards bolstering resilience against climate change and improving food security in northeast Nigeria. According to a statement from the bank, this funding initiative aimed to enhance the lives of over 3.5 million people in the region while addressing climate vulnerabilities, promoting food security, and improving livelihood. The ECCAP project funding totaling an estimated $101.34 million. The African Development Bank contribution of $50 million is complemented by $30 million co-financing from the Arab Bank for economic development in Africa. Moreover, the Yobe State government commits $4.52 million in counterpart funding, with an additional $16.82 million coming directly from the project beneficiary. The AFDB ongoing commitment to Nigeria includes a diverse portfolio of 50 operations worth $4.6 billion aimed at achieving the bank's strategies, prioritizing and supporting sustainable development across African continents. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
All right, welcome back. It's time for us. We're reaching the business end of Global Morning as we take our last discourse, which has to do with responsible leadership. We're looking at the derivatives of it, looking at the skill sets required, the qualities and the drivers to achieve, national development. And that's our next talking point. And we've got a management consultant in the person of Richard Essien, who is has joined us live in the studio to help us look at this very interesting talking point, especially if we look at the issue of Nigeria, where for the past how many years, the key issue, public interest, and commentators have said we've always lacked good leadership as what has been our bane in our national quest for national and speedy development. We also know that in the African continent, Nigeria is one of the democracies that has been sustainable, but yet we're not reaping the true dividends of democracy. So in an attempt to look at what the pitfalls are and the way forward, we have brought one of the finest minds in the African continent in the person of Richard Essien, who is a management consultant, to help us look at this very interesting talking point. So to say that he has got some very solid experience and work experience and management experience in the UK, and so he's bringing that back to the country. Let's share with him all he has in store for us. Richard, I want to say thank you and good morning. Thank you for joining us in the studio.
Good morning.
Right, let's look at the issue of responsible leadership. Now we're not talking about good leadership, we're talking about responsible leadership. What does that narrative go to suggest when we talk about responsible leadership? And is that what Nigeria has been lacking?
Okay, thank you. Good morning again. Thank you for inviting me to your show. I think we'll start by examining what leadership is all about. The question is, who is the leader? Because it's always easy for people to point to some other person and say, the leader, bad leaders, good leaders, So I'll just give a brief, like a definition of who a leader is. A leader is actually a person who is an agent of change, of positive change. So a leader is supposed to be a driver. The essence of having a leader is to have a driver of positive change. So the idea of responsible leadership now is not a contemporary, idea. And it has to do with what we are seeing so far, not just in Nigeria, all over the world. Leaders are entrusted with the responsibility to carry their followers along, and they abuse that trust or the position that they are given. So that's where the issue of responsible leadership, irresponsibility came up. So the issue of responsible leadership is now in the fore. And so many minds that are thinking are really worried. We're worried because Nigeria has, in terms of leaders, we have so much potential. We have a population of young people who are very intelligent, enterprising, but lack. They're in an environment where it's not stimulating enough, and so it affects, them. Most times they don't even realize that they are leaders, despite their economic situation, and all of that. And so the idea of responsible leadership is getting people to realize that first, you are there to produce positive change and not the reverse, which is negative change. You're not there to produce personal change. So, and that has been challenges.
Can we say this? Why we are lacking, positive or responsible leadership is because these leaders are not meant to be accountable by the system, or even when they are made to be accountable, it's on their own terms and not the terms of what is expected, global standards in terms of what a leader is expected to do, in terms of their courage, the way they relate with their subjects, in terms of also giving them that mutual respect and not feel like lording things over them.
Okay.
And the system and policies also not supporting for the leader to be accountable to its people and making it mandatory and not seeing it as a right or a privilege to be accountable to the people.
You're perfectly right. In fact, you've gone ahead of me. Like I said, leadership is all about the agents, the person that would produce the change. So the emphasis really is about the change. So you have people who are responsible for producing changes in certain aspects of our life. And leadership has various dimensions. And exactly what you just mentioned now is one of the dimensions, that the system dimension of leadership. The leaders or the people who are entrusted with responsibility to produce a system, a workable system that enables because it's a collaborative thing. There are leaders, there are followers, but the followers are leaders. If they don't have a leadership mindset, then they won't be good followers. So the system aspects, which you just mentioned, is a key problem. You see, when it comes to basic things like just to queue up, if we can do it manually, 1, 2, 3. In Nigeria, it's complex. It's complex. So it's a system thing. So the people who are responsible for setting up that system, it's called a queuing system. Queuing system has gone in advanced countries. These things are, they've been well thought out, and there are solutions to them. Anything that has to do with orderliness, queuing, and all that is a systemic thing. So if you want to look at Nigeria itself as a system, all of us, the citizens, we are all, you can also see us as, part of being in a system that is dysfunctional. It's dysfunctional because the system sets in. So there are so many spheres to
well, who do we hold responsible for this dysfunctional state of the Nigerian system, where things, the elites can go scot-free if, for instance, they break the traffic light, it's allowed for them to go scot-free. The president is arriving, there's a standstill, people are made to not move, the traffic is held up because one man is going through. Do you think corruption, sycophancy, and other factors are responsible for this, and how can it be dealt with?
Okay, precisely. The issue of responsible leadership, of course, has the irresponsibility, which is has causes, and you just stated them. There are so many causative agents. Corruption is part of it, So, but the thing is, if people can adopt everyone, can see themselves as leaders, that would be a good starting point, so that it's not, we don't get into a situation where, you're pointing fingers and the other finger is actually pointing back at you. So it's a social orientation thing. Everybody has to, because we can't continue with this kind of line, because people are getting this, they are disconnecting themselves from issues on leadership that they should be interested in. That won't solve the problem. We can't make any headway, by only allowing corrupt people, people who don't have a leadership mindset to keep running the affairs of the day. It won't take us anywhere. We have to tell ourselves, every one of us, that we are leaders and that we are tired of what we are seeing, and we also want to make a change. So that it's now a mind thing. It takes a mind that is reformed, to say, I will not be discouraged, even if Mr. A, Mr. B, that is seemingly more powerful, or maybe with sirens and all of that, is doing what is not correct. Right. We We can't go that way. We have to stick to our terms. And not, what we are preaching here is the good for humanity. Let us, even if the whole world is going wrong at a stage that Nigeria, we're now conscious of a lot of things. Nigeria has a lot of good resource manpower. It's been confirmed everywhere in the world that Nigerians are very, very good, good set of people. So we all should not get discouraged. Yes, the feeling to Japa is real. You just want to flee from negativity. Everybody wants to do that, But the thing is, we have to brace up and tell ourselves the truth, that this has to change. And the change must start with me.
All right, the change must start with me. We'll go for a very quick break. When we return from this break, the discussion continues. Please stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching Africa's Finest Breakfast Show. It's Global Morning, and we're still in the discourse as we search for responsible leadership and the skill set needed, the qualities and the drivers to achieve this is what we're looking at. And no other person but one of Africa's finest in terms of management, skills is no other person but Richard Essien, who is in the live studios with us as we look at it. Let's look at the skill sets needed for responsible leadership, skill sets and the qualities.
Okay, skill sets, basically you're talking about an attribute of a person. So the emphasis here, a leader is a person. So the skill set is, what are the features that a leader should have? And we want to look at it from different dimensions. We want to look at what's the essence of having a leadership. Like we have said, we want that person that would cause the change. It's not about, complaining about the various problems the country has. But this is now
getting the solutions.
The solution. The angle from which we are coming from now is a solution-driven angle. So we've detached ourselves, as difficult as it may seem, from who caused it, what's going on, see how damaged it is. We've left that realm, and we are saying we are not necessarily preachers.
Or blaming, or trying to shift blame.
But we are telling ourselves, as humans, while you are here, all you are trying to do, if you can't achieve change, and God himself will witness it, then we are failed. Every other thing we are doing here is temporary. So as humans, we should take it that, assume that you are in a setting, and there is a witness, just like in a law courts, where they call witnesses and all that. If you can do it that way, and take it that there is somebody that is witnessing up there, and checking, how did you perform when I sent you as a change agent? If we can leave every other thing and focus on that, then we will be positioned for making change, which is what leadership is all about.
Okay, so, in terms of what are the other skill sets needed now to achieve
the other skill set, we need focus, people who are focused. We see a lot of leaders who, when they come into power, their focus is on dollars, our problem in Nigeria. No matter how they couch it, Nigerians are very intelligent people. At the end of the day, you see people, their actions are driven towards the dollar syndrome. And so the dollar is also dealing with us. We're having challenges with trying to manage, our quest for dollar under normal economic activity and the inordinate greed among leaders, which should not be, because it now causes them to have a lack of focus. So we need people who are focused on what their role is to cause change, positive developmental change, which is what the people want. Okay. People want their socioeconomic condition to change. So you are the driver. See yourself that way.
Okay, as we look at which other skill set that should a leader have in order to achieve responsible leadership?
Another skill set a leader should have is a leader should be able to carry his people along. You see, the way politics is played, like I see generally, a set of people, they remove themselves, a small group always wants to remove themselves from
the larger
society. The gathering of everyone. They want to remove themselves and now arrogate powers, extra powers to themselves, and they do it in such a way that it causes, division, and it truncates the essence of having, people stay together.
Yeah.
And so you have, even in a political party or a group of people anywhere, when you see people who are trying to remove, because when you do that, when you try to form, you are cutting down communication and collaboration. You people now have your own agenda, things you want to say, that do not flow with the shared goal or the shared good, which you are supposed to drive as a leader.
All right, let's take in Nigeria into context and Nigerian leaders. How would you describe Nigerian leaders? Which of these skill sets do they lack the most, and which of the skill sets is needed, especially at this time of economic hardship that Nigerians are going through?
Well, the thing is, the Nigerians are, people have seen the situation we have. It's not about talking, this is about a practical solution. The first skill set they need to have empathy. Empathy, whoever you are. If you don't have conscience, you don't have this feeling for your fellow human, if you don't have that empathy, it's a problem. You know, because you just go on doing your own things, doing things that only concern a certain group, you know, as against
the interest of the
generality of the people. So empathy, I would say, you must that humanistic. You can see the way leadership is going wrong, even in the world. These leaders who we've learned from, you know, we've been looking up to them. All of a sudden, they are busy, concerned about throwing bombs and destroying things that have been created. That doesn't really make sense.
Okay, let's wrap up our conversation now. Let's look at political parties in Nigeria. We notice they have this issue of internal democracy not situated right within the political parties themselves. We saw the primaries in Edo State, where for all the PDP, the APC, the Labour Party, they all had crisis in just their primaries, which is internal. If political parties do not have internal politics, internal management of their own affairs, how do we trust them enough to, you know, be able to handle the affairs of a state, talk more of a country? Are we just going in circles? What do you think is wrong with the political parties themselves, so to say?
Well, what I think is wrong with the political parties is still this systemic cancer that we have in Nigeria. I decided to use that word, cancer, you know, because it is spreading. We shouldn't be. But it's a systemic problem. Anytime a group of people want to come together for a good notion, democracy is a good notion. There's nothing wrong with democracy. The problem with democracy and politics are the players. The players, they are too aggressively competitive over personal issues. We shouldn't be. So the players should change their way of doing things, and to put it more practically, the regulators of such process,
like INEC, yes.
INEC should put in place a system beyond just putting it in print, black and white, a practical system whereby these politicians will play according to the rules. A hands-on, they have to be, it's not a matter of INEC is trying to say, we don't want to be too, we have a problem, so they have to engage. If they need more staff, employ more people. If you need help, there are people out there, independents out there, who can help, you know, so that before you start a process, any process, let there be clear, laid down, you know, procedure. And let there be clear penalties that will be implementable immediately before it degenerates. We allow it to degenerate, and where everybody is saying go to court, go to court. They're pushing it to the courts. Now the courts are choked. We can't have that kind of system. On our own, we should say the affair should not even go to the court in the first place. It doesn't show responsibility. If you were responsible in the first place, you would have conducted your affairs in a responsible manner and not expect some other person on the outside in the courts to come and resolve them.
Okay. On the final note, let's look at, in terms of achieving responsible leadership, the burden falls on, does it fall on the leaders themselves, the politicians, the umpire like INEC, and the electorate? And what would you also say in terms of external influence? We know that at times we hear this Western allies, the United States or UK, technically also have a way of influencing whatever plays out who becomes the leader because of their own selfish interests. Of these four category of persons, how key are they in their own, in respective orders to arriving at responsible leadership as a wrap up?
Well, I would say everyone has a responsibility to lead. Everyone, from the regulators to the electorates. It has to be a holistic mind change. That is mind change first for everyone. However I want to do it, whether I want to pray it into the people, or however, let us arrive at a point where we tell ourselves that this cannot go on. If you're heading for the rocks, you should tell yourself that, oh, I'm heading for the rocks. And that is precisely the state we are in.
All right, that's how we're going to call it a wrap on today's discourse. I want to say a big thank you to Richard Essien, who is a management consultant, for joining us on Global Morning and helping us look at the issue of responsible leadership, the skill sets needed, the qualities and the drivers towards achieving this particular aim. And on that note, I want to say thank you and enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully, in the coming days and weeks, we'll be having more of you to help us look at some other issues. I know you're also big in terms of, construction, civil engineering. So we'll delve into that and other issues in the coming weeks. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
All right, so that's how we're going to call it a wrap on this discourse. We'll go for a very quick break. When we return from the break, we'll be wrapping up Global Morning. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. And this is one of the most favorite time for some people when it's time to say goodbyes. And I hope you had fun with all the discourse we had today and the news in between. And also not forgetting the taste and texture we brought your way.
Of course, not just taste and texture. We brought in business, we brought in sports, and of course, some our first and second topic of discuss today. Hope we had an amazing time with us on Global Morning. Hope you laughed your way through some parts, took some parts seriously. And of course, we have to wrap it up on Global Morning this beautiful Thursday morning, and just keep tuning into Global Television, where we bring you back-to-back news that has to do with political issues and, of course, current affairs. And I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for being a part of Global Morning this beautiful morning, and my co-host.
All right, good morning, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Oh, boy.